Hi everyone, and welcome to a special edition of Beside the Gavel. I'm Andy Gavrin, Vice President of the Lower Merion Board of Commissioners, and I'm so incredibly excited for this month's edition of everyone's favorite LMTV show. That's right, McKeon. About a year ago, my three amazing daughters, Maya, Rachel, and Dehlia, interviewed me on Gavel. It was such a success that every month they've been asked to come back on the show. Unfortunately, with their newfound fame, I haven't been able to book them, until now at least. So girls, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to join me on Beside the Gavel. I know you've got a ton of questions for me, but before we start, how about you introduce yourselves? Maya, do you want to start? Tell us a little bit about you, where you go to school, how great your dad is.
Well, I'm 14. I'm starting at Harriman High School in September, which is very exciting. I really like reading and writing and nerding out over mythology and Marvel and that kind of stuff, and you're so great.
Thanks, Maya.
My name's Rachel. I'm Maya's twin, so I'm also going to be a freshman at Harriman in September. I like to dance. I do a lot of dance. I play field hockey. I like reading, but not as much as Maya. And yeah.
I'm Dehlia. I'm going into 7th grade. I love ice hockey, and you are not great.
Thanks so much, Dehlia. Thank you, guys. I know you have a bunch of questions, so you want to get started?
Yeah.
So I guess it's fair that you introduce yourself too, because we just introduced ourselves. So what do you like about being a commissioner, and what do you do? And like, what else do you do for fun? And who's your favorite child? Me?
Well, I'll ignore that last part because when I'm alone with each of you, I tell you you're my favorite child. So anyway, I love serving as commissioner. I came into this really because I wanted to give back to the community and show you guys how important it is to give back. We're all incredibly fortunate to have everything we have. And to be able to make a difference, you know, for your neighbors, for your community, really feels great. I've met some wonderful people, both on the board and people I've worked with, and people in the township and my residents. So it's been wonderful. As you know, outside of being commissioner, I'm an estate planning attorney, which is a lot more fun than it sounds. Actually get to help people working with their family and their money, which are two really important things to people. And for fun, just really kind of spending time with you guys, helping you with the businesses you're starting, watching your dance recitals and hockey games, and working on escape rooms with you, Maya, watching Marvel movies, watching our favorite TV shows. I love being active, running, biking, playing hockey, playing softball. So that's a little bit about me. Yeah.
So what's even going on in the township?
There's actually a lot going on right now. I know summer's usually a quiet time, but there's a ton going on in the township right now. We just passed a sustainability plan, which is really to help take our township into the future. You know, obviously the environment is so important, and we had our environmental advisory committee work with our sustainability committee, and we have a new, well, I guess not new anymore, sustainability director who's wonderful, and they created this plan with all kinds of different initiatives to help keep us carbon neutral, you know, moving as we move forward, and do a lot to make sure that we're doing our part to keep our planet as safe as we can. We also received a couple of years ago what's called ARP money, American Rescue Plan money, about $25 million from the federal government to spend to make up for some of the losses during COVID. And we just passed kind of an agreement on how we're going to spend that money. A lot of that going into some big infrastructure projects, a lot of it going to help various people within our community who are in need. We have an Ardmore master plan. Ardmore is the center of our town, although we like to think Villanova, where we live, is the center of our town, but really Ardmore, where the township building is, there's a lot of businesses here, and making sure that Ardmore, which has been thriving recently with a lot of restaurants and great businesses, continues to do so into the next decades. So we have a plan to add some green space into the middle of town, take a parking lot and convert it from a parking lot into a little park. One of your favorite places, Suburban Square, is really so close to downtown historic Ardmore, but there isn't a great connection right now, right? You go under that underpass and driving isn't really clean between the two parts. So part of the master plan is to connect those better. So there's a lot going on in the township. Those are some of the big initiatives in addition to the stuff we do every day. So yeah, that's pretty exciting stuff.
So that's really cool, but what's going on that we should really care about, like as kids? What affects us?
Yeah, it's so important because, you know, I think all of us on the Board of Commissioners think about what does the future hold for Lower Merion, and the future is not for us. We're, as you like to tell me a lot, I'm old, right? It's you guys that are the future. And, you know, we have a couple things. As I mentioned, the sustainability plan, we are going to be banning plastic bags. Which is wonderful. So, you know, to really help our environment in that way, we're working on converting all of our vehicles into electric vehicles as we're able to do so. So right now, the technology is not quite there. So we've been looking at, for example, converting our police cars to electric police cars. But the car companies don't have that technology to do that because police cars have a lot of requirements, and we're not quite there, but we're trying to do that as quickly as we can. We have a number of other sustainable initiatives. Additionally, with the ARP money, one of the big initiatives, we're creating a new Ardmore Community Center. So we have this community center where, remember not the Belmont Hills pool, the Ardmore pool that we belong to. Right next to the pool is this community center that really is outdated. It's not clean. It's not modern. We're doing a giant project to create a new community center there. We also are building an accessible playground in the township with some of that money for those with disabilities. So that's really exciting. What else do we have? Oh, and school district. So we're working closely with the school district, putting lights at Arnold Field, which is outside of Lower Merion High School. So when Harridan plays Lower Merion in high school, on a Friday night, we'll be able to go and watch Harridan destroy Lower Merion football. And as you know, the fields for Black Rock Middle School, where Dehlia, you'll still be, and where you two are now alumni of, you know, working on solutions for the fields and protecting historic and environmentally important oak wells. So there's a lot going on that really affects the next generation. And to me, that's some of the most exciting stuff that's out there, because it is really important that we don't do stuff just for the here and now, but we are doing it for 10, 20, 30, 40 years from now for you guys.
Dad, you also talked about how you're going to try to stop using plastic bags. Also during lunch at school, there's a lot of plastic materials. Are you going to try to stop using those?
It's a great question. So there are two separate governmental entities, the Board of Commissioners and the Lower Merion School District, and they have a school board. We don't have control over what the school board does and what happens within the schools. So where we interact with the schools is when they want to develop something, if they want to do something that impacts the community, so put lights on their fields or build a new school or do something like that, they have to come and work with the township. Anything like that goes within the school, but I know, and that goes within the school district, and we don't have the ability to do anything about it. But I know Sarah Stout, who's the principal at Black Rock, is very responsive, cares a lot about the students who go to school, cares a lot about our environment. I think it's a great idea to bring it up with her and say, hey, we're really concerned about this. And you could say, hey, the township's doing this on plastic bags. There's so much material. Can we look at doing that? I think that's really important.
So about, the issues that we should know about, especially in the issues that involve the future and us kids, how can we do anything about that, and how can we make a difference?
Yeah, it's so important, right? Because I don't want you guys or anyone in our township to sit there and say, well, I can't have an impact. One of the coolest things about local government is we're neighbors, right? I'm not the president of the United States. I'm not a senator. I'm not somebody who you can't reach, right? My constituents have my phone number. You guys, your friends know how to get a hold of me, right? People, you can make a difference. And like I just said to Dehlia about the materials at lunch, you can go up to the principal and say, hey, this is really concerning to me. What can we do about it? Same thing with the township. So we had a number of people who were really into skateboarding and said, we don't have anywhere to skateboard. There's no skate park. And they came to us and they did research and they put this whole proposal together. And we're now funding a skate park in Lower Merion. And it's because this group of kids and their parents came to the board and made a difference. The plastic bag ban that I talked about, really that came from a bunch of students at the environmental club at Lower Merion High School. I used to be the chair of our environmental initiatives committee. And they came to us and said, we want to make a difference. And they started, again, doing some research on, what are different ways to ban plastic bags? Do you charge a fee for it? Do you ban it outright? What can you do? And it sometimes takes a while. That came in probably 3 or 4 years ago we started it. The state actually had a law that you weren't allowed to ban plastic bags for a while. Whole nother story, crazy thing that shouldn't have been, but was, so we had to put it on hold. But that came from, from students making a difference. There's a parent who came to us who is really concerned that his children's bus stop is on a really busy road that has no sidewalk. And so it's really dangerous, and when they walk home from school, they're walking on the street. So he's come to us every week and said, we need to put a sidewalk here, and we're now working on getting sidewalks around the township. So there's a lot of what we do comes from constituents, and when the students come to us and our youth come to us, more than anything, we sit up and listen. It's so powerful. And Oakwell, I didn't mention Oakwell, the protecting these fields that the school district bought for Lower Merion, there's been a huge student contingency about protecting that. So there's a whole bunch of opportunities to make a difference. I know you have a ton more questions, but time flies when you're having fun. We've covered so much already, more than they cover in about 10 episodes of the Public Work Pipeline, obviously. Not that anyone would ever know because no one watches it. Anyway, it's time for a break, and we'll be back with these 3 amazing young ladies after the break. Welcome back to Beside the Gavel. I'm still Andy Gavrin, Vice President of the Lower Merion Board of Commissioners, and these are still my 3 incredible daughters, Dahlia, Rachel, and Maya, learning about our township. Let's get back into it. Dahlia, I think you've got a question for me.
So earlier you mentioned the Public Works Pipeline. So what is that?
I have no idea. Nobody knows. Nobody's ever seen it. It's kind of like Bigfoot, like we think it exists. But apparently one of my colleagues on the board, a guy by the name of Mike McKeon, hosts a show where he talks about all the public works projects going on in the township, from paving roads to snow plowing to putting people to sleep. Not that we do that he does that in his show. Not that came out very wrong. But he puts people to sleep with his show, but he has really good guests on it, apparently, and he thinks it's a good show. But I feel bad for the people who have to be on it with him.
Isn't Mike McKeon the guy you did the memorial parade with?
It is, and it's a funny story. Originally, it was supposed to be just Mike, but they realized they would get no ratings for the show if it was just Mike on the show. So they asked me to join him. Actually, they asked me to do the show. I wasn't told it would be with Mike. I thought I would just be doing it, or be doing it with somebody on the staff in the township, and I was excited to do it. I thought it would be really neat. But then I found out I was doing it with Mike, and it was too late to back out because they couldn't get anyone else. So yeah, that's what happened.
What was it like when you broadcasted the Memorial Day parade? Did you have fun doing it?
It was really fun. I know you watched it, and we had a really good time with it. The parade is 75 years old, so it was really cool. We've been doing this parade for a while, but it was the first time I think ever that we had commentators for it. I know the year before it was broadcast on Lower Merion TV, but they didn't have anyone kind of announcing the parade. So it was the first time we did that, and kudos to the director of Lower Merion TV, Mark Murray, who's really always innovating, trying to think of new ways to really enhance our shows and make them more engaging. He failed this year by having Mike and I do it, but you got to start the bar really low so that next year it can be even better. But I've never done anything like that. It was live, so we had to kind of watch what we were saying. But we had a really great time. Both of us did a lot of research going into it, and just things about some of the veterans, the amazing veterans that we have from our township, just, history of our township. And, we had a really good time doing the show together. And it was a pretty fascinating day, and seeing everybody out there, the spirit that this township had, all the kids, all the seniors, just everyone out there. The commissioners, you've been before in the commissioner, I guess the back of the truck that has the commissioners throwing out the candy to the kids. And, without me there was a lot of no one really throwing very well, a lot of just dropping the candy, people like Scott Zelov, who can't throw very well. But, in general, outside of that, it was a really big highlight. It was a lot of fun. So maybe next year I'll do the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade.
So obviously you do a lot of work in Lower Merion. So what's your favorite part of Lower Merion?
Wow. I love living here. It's such a great place to live. The schools are great. It's close to, close to Philadelphia. We can go into Philadelphia. There's so much. It's beautiful. There's so much history here. I've really gained an appreciation for historic buildings. I never really realized that before, and I think unlike a lot of townships and municipalities around here, we do have some unique building. It's not like everything's exactly the same. But what I think love more than anything else are the trails around here. We used to go a lot to Rolling Hill Park and walk around there. Obviously, with Maya's dog allergy, it's slightly less useful, but I still do that sometimes, without you guys. Sorry, I do things without you sometimes. But there's another trail, I think it's called the Windsor Trail. It's right across from Ashburn Field in Gladwin. It's the one with those tree stumps that you can hop from one to the other.
Oh, yeah. It's
so cool. In the middle of this town where there's just houses everywhere, within 10 seconds, you feel like you're in the middle of nowhere. It's great. It connects to the Bridle Wild trails. There's so many different ways to go. I love just hiking there, going by the streams, and it really. I think with everything else in this township, that's probably, that's probably one of my favorite things about living here. How about you guys? What do you love about Lower Merion?
Well, there's a lot of nice parks here, like Ashbridge. I love Ashbridge. I've hung out with my friends there before, and there's a lot of times I don't know, parties, I guess. Not really parties, but there was a school hosted one there. That was fun.
Yeah. How about you, Rach?
I think I like the opportunities presented to us, because I think the schools, we have really good schools here. Harridan has the IB program, and it's really unique and special, and I just think that it's a really great township and place to live.
Yeah, I think so. How about you, Maya?
I think it's just super cool sometimes where it's you can be, what you were saying, in one place and just go slightly out of the way, and it feels like you're in a totally different place, how somewhere there are all these shops and somewhere there's all these trails and all these things. They can be so close together but make you feel like you're in such a different place.
Yeah, no, I think it's really cool. From our house, you can walk to Stoneleigh and then walk to Villanova's campus and then walk into Bryn Mawr to all the shops and restaurants down there. It really, there's so many different pockets of things around that makes it really cool. You guys are pretty smart. So, any other questions?
Well, I was thinking, is it scary or hard serving as commissioner and making so many big decisions for everybody?
I don't think it's scary. It is hard at times. It's interesting. When I first decided to serve and got elected, there was an outgoing commissioner, Brian Gordon, that talked to me a lot, and he's a lot of the time, the decisions are going to be simple, and a lot of the votes are kind of procedural. There's not much to them. They're pretty, I don't want to say basic, but they're pretty standard, and they're voted on 14-0. So if you watch one of the board meetings, you'll see we approved the minutes from last meeting, or we approved escrow. Escrow returns. So if a developer develops a building, they have to give money to the township as a deposit, because if they mess something up, we need to use that money to fix it, essentially. So when they're done with the project, we give that money back. So a lot of those things are just standard, they're easy. You'll see the president of the board makes a motion, I always second it, it's 14-0, boom, we move on to the next thing. There's a lot of that, but 20 to 30% of the time we have really big decisions that we have to make, and they're not clear-cut, whether it's on allowing somebody to take down a historic building, or whether it's on a development project that's going up, or whether it's how to spend our money, and it's not our money, it's taxpayer money, right? People work very hard and they give money to this township, and we need to spend it wisely, and we don't all agree on how to do that. And I wouldn't say it's scary, but I think it's really exciting to have that opportunity to have a seat at the table, to make a difference, to be one of those people who really can day in, day out and say, like, I've made a difference in this township. And the new Black Rock Middle School, I was really involved in that development when it happened. Like, I was working closely with the school district, and you're gonna come back, whether you live here or you don't live here, 50, 60 years from now, you're gonna tell your kids, your grandkids, like, my dad was involved in the building of that school. Like, not only were you the first class there, but I had a big part in that school going up. And it's a lot of responsibility. I like to have a good time. I like to joke around and make it fun and make things accessible, but I take the work incredibly seriously, and I do my homework and I do my research. There was a project, St. Charles Seminary, which is on that corner of Lancaster and City Line Avenue. It's that big property. There's a big cross on the corner. The church actually left that property, sold it to Mainline Health. And when they left the property, they did something called decommissioning it, kind of making it not religious anymore. And so under the Catholic Church law, which is called canon law, they had all these requirements, and they wanted to do all this stuff. They wanted to take statues, they wanted to take religious stained glass windows, which made complete sense, but they also wanted to scrub things off the building, sandblast this Latin writing, which you could probably translate for me, but this religious writing and these religious symbols that are on our historic building. And it's part of what makes that building historic, right? The Pope stayed there one day. It was really, and it's been this important piece of Lower Merion for generations and generations. And so I started doing research on what does canon law say? How does that interact with our historic codes? And started negotiating with the Catholic Church and their representatives on what they can and can't do to that building. And ultimately we came with a compromise where they're taking a lot of the things from the building, they're taking some of the stained glass windows, but they're not destroying the integrity of the building. And I protected, and the board kind of supported the work I did, and we built a little committee and we kind of came up with a solution and worked with the board as a whole on how to kind of strike that balance. And those are the kind of things that I'm going to look back on and say, wow, I made a real difference. And years and years from now, look back and be like, yeah, this happened because I got to have a seat at the table. And it's really exciting. It's a lot of time. It's a lot of work. But I'm so glad I did it. I'm so glad setting that example for you guys. And I hope that part of what comes out of it is not only the stuff I've done in Lower Merion, but kind of instilling the sense in you and in others and your friends and the other millions of people who watch this show that I do want to give back. I do want to be part of this solution, and hopefully that's the legacy I leave when I ultimately step down as commissioner. So sadly, we're out of time. Girls, thank you so much for joining me on Beside the Gavel. You truly are wonderful interviewers. And hopefully I'll be able to apply some of what I learned from you into future episodes when I interview people. And I hope you had fun, or at least not too miserable of a time spending it with your dad. And I love you guys. Thanks for joining me. And thanks everyone for joining us for the #1 show on Lower Merion TV, Beside the Gavel. This is Andy Gavrin saying see you next month.